Hi, welcome back. In this class, we'll look into parameters passing in functions. Actually, there are in Python there are three ways of passing the parameters. One is by position, the position called positional parameters. The other one is a variable number of parameters. We can pass variable number of parameters, and the third one is named parameters. The three ways of passing parameters, and also we can do a mix of all these three. Um, Let us start with the positional parameters. Uh, in the last class, we saw a simple function, and we passed one parameter. Let us see. Let us in this. Let us write a new function. We'll be passing more number of parameters in this. Let us write a function called sumnums. I say the name of the function is sumnums, and the function starts with a keyword def for defining. We are defining the function. We can say, so these are the parameters will be enclosed in parentheses. Let us pass three parameters, say n1, n2, and n3. And let us write the body of the function. I'll say, let us create a variable sum. We'll say sum equal to n1 plus n2 plus n3. It's a simple function again, and it will return sum. It takes three parameters. These are called formal parameters. Here, whatever you're when you're writing the function, the parameters you specify, they are called the formal parameters. And it just sums the three parameters. That's why it's called sumnums. It's called sumnums. And we created a variable sum, and we added all this to that sum, and it is returning the sum. Let us say it is returning a total, right? We'll say tot equal to sumnums, and let us pass some values. I will say 10, 20, and 30, and that is our function call. And then let us print total. I say print total equal to, and let us put that tot. If we execute this function, if we execute this code, we made a mistake. Sumnums here, sumnums. So that is 60. 10 plus 20 plus 30, 60. That is actually when you write a function like these are called positional parameters. I mean, we are specifying the parameters by position. That's why these are called positional parameters. And also we can specify some default values if you want. We can say, let us copy this one. We can specify some default values. Suppose if you want to say, suppose if n3 is not given, here in this function, you have to always give three parameters. You have to, when you are executing, you must provide three parameters. Suppose let us say what happens if you just give two parameters. You'll get an error saying because that function is looking for three parameters and you give only two parameters. That's why you got some nums missing one required positional parameter. See, let us see what happens if you miss two. If you execute it, it says missing two required positional parameters, n2 and n3. Okay, so you have to pass. Suppose if we specify 3 parameters, you have to pass 3 parameters. But there's sometimes you can if you want to put some as a default, you can do that. You can say suppose n3 is not provided, take it as I can say 30, right? Suppose in this case, suppose if we don't provide n3, it will take it as a default, and you get it and see how much you get. Still you get 50, 10 plus 10 plus 30. And suppose if you let us say we provide 100 here, and if you provide, then it will take this parameter, and if you execute this one, you get 120. 100 plus 10 120. Yeah, I mean, if you don't provide, then only it will take this parameter. And similarly, I mean, all the default parameters you have to specify from the end. If you want to specify this one as a default parameter and this one, then you have to specify the next one too. You cannot just say this defaults to 20 and 30 has to be provided. We cannot do that. I mean, if you start a default from here, the rest of them have to be defaults. In this case, suppose if we say, let us say 30, then it is enough if we provide just one parameter. If you just provide one parameter, then still the program will run. If I execute that, it is 60, 10 plus 20 plus 30. And suppose if I provide, let us say second as 50, it will take second one as 50 and you'll get a 90. Okay, 60 plus 30. So that is about defaults. Next, let us see passing a variable number of parameters. See, I mean, let us take this code. Here, this function is written in such a way that it needs 3 parameters. It will take 3 parameters and sums them up and returns the sum. If you want to pass more than 3 parameters, suppose if you want to add numbers, more than 3 numbers, that is not possible with this function. Suppose if we say specify 40 and 50, and let us see what is the total we get on this. We get an error saying that takes three positional parameters, but 5 are given. So this is not a good, I mean, we cannot pass more than 3 parameters. Let us write a function to pass a variable number of parameters. The Python provides a technique for writing a function with a variable number of parameters. Okay, let us write this one. Let me take out this first. Okay, I'll use the same function. Let us in this parameters, we will pass something called star args. These are the arguments. All the arguments will be within this. It's like more like a, we can say it's a tuple. It will have all the parameters. And let us take sum as 0, sum 0, and then let us loop through, because it gives this one will have, it's like a container, it's like a tuple. It will have all the parameters we are passing from here. Let us change the name also. Let us say some variable nums. I mean, we can pass any number. I mean, let us first write it. Sum is equal to 0, and then I will write a for loop for n in args. This args is like a iterable object. We can loop with a for loop. I'll say arg, and then I'll say sum equal to sum plus n. I can also say sum equal to, I can say sum equal to this also, you know, right? This constructor you already know, but I prefer just for a more readable, I will say sum plus n. That will give you it will loop through all the arguments and it will find the total sum. And finally, we just return, right? And let us use the same code here, vary, and let us see what we get with this. With these same parameters, we must get a 60. Let us execute this. Yes, we got a 60. So it worked with 3 parameters. Let us add 2 more. I'll say 40 and 50. If I execute this, I must get a 90 plus 60, 150. Yes, we got a 150. Because we are passing, we can pass any number of parameters. We can pass even one parameter. Then still, let us say with one parameter. I will copy. And if I execute this, just one parameter, it worked fine. So that is the way to write a function with a variable number of parameters. This is very useful, and we just, with the given parameters, we just loop through all the parameters and make a sum. It's a really nice technique for writing functions with a variable number of parameters. Also note this args is not it's just a variable name. You can say x, or you can say anything. It's not like a fixed keyword or anything. You can just say, I can just say like capital X, and you have to just loop through that container. This is a container name. It is once we execute this one, all this will go into this container, and this for loop will iterate on that container. If you execute now, you'll get the same result. You get 150. But args is a more readable, more makes sense, instead of saying x. Okay, that is our function with passing a variable number of parameters. And also this variable number of parameters thing, it will work with any other objects like strings, list, tuples, or anything. It's all based on depends on the way you write the code here. But here you will get as a container of all these items and objects. Let us write a little complicated function. Let me copy this. This is what I want to pass. Okay, this is what the output I want. So here we are passing a variable number of list objects. This is one list, the second list, third list, and fourth list. We are passing 4 lists, and the output will be a list object, each containing the totals of these, like 3, 6, and here 9 plus 6, 15. It will be total of all these. That's what I want to write that function. Okay. Okay, let us let us write the function. I'll say def. Let us give the same name. Doesn't matter. Let us give the same name. Where nums, and I'll say star args. Right, and colon. I'll say I'll create a list called sum list. Sum list is my empty. It's an empty list. I'll be using that, in my code. Then I'll loop through for n in args colon, and I'll create another variable sum equal to 0, and then so each argument, each item n is a list now. So I have to loop through this list to find the sum. Then I'll say for I in n, I'll just say sum equal to sum plus 0, sum plus I. Okay, I got the sum of each. I mean, for this, if I'm iterating on this, I got this one first. The sum will have 3 plus 2 plus 1, 6. And what I will do, I'll append that one. It's not part of the for loop. I have to come out of the for loop, and then I'll do sum list dot append to this list. Append, what I have to append sum, and then this loop will take through each of the lists, and the second loop will sum this, will go through each item in the list. This also could be need not be just 3, it could be here it is a 4 items. Finally I'll say return sum list. Okay, that is our new function. Starts with we create an empty list, then we use a for loop to these args or each the containers of the items. Each item is again a list here, and for loop will loop through all these items. Then the second for loop will loop through all the items within a list and find the sum. It is finding the sum here, and finally after finding the sum, it appends it appends to this list. That is the sum list. So we are returning the sum list, and then let us say that is our function. Maybe I'll take out this. Okay, that is our function, and here we are calling the function. I'll say total list. This whole thing, this function will return me a list object. So I'm saying a total list, and then I will print. I say print so I will say totals. List, say, and let me copy this, and here comma, I'll remove this. All right, if we execute this, let us see what we get. This is our, it's beautiful. See, we got see the final output. This is our final output. This is what total list is, because this is returning a list and we are just printing that list. And the first one, the first item is total of this, means 3, 2, 1, 6, and 4, 5, 6, 15. And finally the last one is 10 minus 5 minus 3 minus 1 is 8, 9. You got a 1 here. And these are also, I mean, this see the beauty of passing variable numbers. You can just modify here. You can just modify. I'll modify it 11. I add 2 more items to this list, internal list, and I'll say a couple of more, like 10. If you execute this now again, so no problem with I'll execute this. See, the numbers changed. Here it is still 6, and here 9 plus 5, 15, 25. Exactly we got. See, this is 11, 21, 30, 38, 45. And here it is still, I mean, you can say 100. and let us see how much you get. We must get 101. See, and suppose let us add one more list here. I'll say 10 and 20. So another list. If I pass another list, still there's no problem. That loops will take care of it. See, we got a 10 and 20, 30. All right, that is the way we can write a variable, passing a variable number of arguments. I think we'll stop here, and in the next class we'll look into named parameters. So far we saw two types of parameters. One is positional parameters, and second one is passing a variable number of parameters. In the next class we'll see the named parameters, and also we'll see passing of mixed parameters. Okay, thanks.